And hello everybody, it's Helloman saying hello all, and welcome to the series where the right solution is as easy as how to free. Today I'm going to show you how to make some amazing graphics to use on Omega, customizing your background, your playmat and your card sleeves. If you like the video, drop a like and a comment down below. Okay, so here we're going to be starting off with our little base image. You take whatever image you want, whether it's from the internet or one you've designed yourself. So here we're using this lovely little meme I quite enjoy, but we want to use that and turn it into a nice little playmat. So it starts off with, we want to do a bit of editing. Now the software I'm using here, is just Microsoft PowerPoint. It's simple, anyone can do this and anyone can probably have access to it as well. So here we've got a nice little image. Now I've already removed the little background here because I'm not too fan of the text, it's a bit blurry. I'm going to be potentially blowing this up as well, so I'm going to be changing that as well. But the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to increase the graphics. So we don't like the look of this right now, we want to make it look a little bit better. So all we've gone ahead and done here, you can see this image. Gone ahead and gone to picture format. We go over to artistic effects and we've gone over to select paintbrush. Now go to artistic effects options. You can see we changed the transparency a little bit and also the brush size. So this simply just changes the level of intensity, and I find using this paintbrush one, I can add some little subtle but dramatic effects with the image, especially the images that might already be a little bit pixelated or a little bit blurry. It smooths it out overall and makes it look a little bit sharp in different ways. Next we go over to the color. We're now going to be, sometimes you might want to increase the color saturation, depends on the image you're using. Most of the time it's fine to leave there, but one thing I think is always good to change is I always end up changing the color tone. So here you see I wanted to make that blue eyes white dragon really stand out a lot more, so what I want to do is I've turned it down. Now if you turn it up, you can make it a little bit more like the sun's the explosion that I'm looking into is a little bit more intense, but again I felt like I wanted to find that nice little balance between the light and dark to make that blue eyes stand out a little bit more then. And lastly, I go over to corrections, and sometimes I'll keep it the same, but if you feel like look at the same, it looks dry, it looks nothing special, but you up it a little bit, have a little bit more contrast. Sometimes maybe you want a bit more brightness sometimes, or a little bit less. It always changes with these images though, but these are just the general ideas you guys can apply to whatever image you want to use. So in this regards, I decided to make it a little bit more sharp on the contrast. Now we've got the image looking what we like. We still don't like this text. It's still shoddy. It's still not as good as we can be. So we're going to go ahead and improve that also. So what I've gone ahead and done it, I've just made myself a little text box. Nothing set too crazy. And what I've done is just Cadbury bold, choose some bold, and I make it italic. And I've also made it a little bit shadow as well. All the shadow basically does when you go to shape format, you basically get all your lovely options to edit the text. Now what I've gone and done here is I've just gone and simply done simple shadow, just the very first shadow there, just to make it nothing too crazy. I find with text you want to add as little as possible, otherwise you just make the text a lot harder to see. So we've already got nice clear text, but if you want to get that lovely little gradient effects here, well I'm trying to sort of mimic the idea that obviously it's getting a little bit brighter and lighter, but again you guys can have tons of fun customizing this to yourself. Go on to gradient, you can see here I've already selected a gradient now, but you just click more gradients and you get a ton of options here. So I find with gradients you can either go as crazy to add as many as possible, but I find once again going as subtle as possible, the smaller the differences are a lot better. So I've gone ahead and you can see here at 25% I've chosen a very light color, which you can of course see on this little theme color wheel here. Nothing special, I haven't gone into look at the different ASCII values or hex values, just nice and simple colors. Nice and simple, but they nevertheless make that text really stand out, really nice and clear, and when you're using it as your playmat, everyone can read it as well as you. You can see the little settings down here. I've chosen to make the brightness a little bit lighter to again increase that idea that it looks like towards the end it's tapering off as it gets closer to that explosion or whatever's ever happening off the screen there. Now depending on what image you want, you might use something different, you might just want still text, but it's just trying to give you guys some more ideas and things to play around with. Next, I'm going to go show you guys how to make your custom sleeve. So once again, you have your image, so we've just been editing up our image we had previously, and we wanted to make it a little bit smaller here. Now what I'll show you guys right now is I'll show you the dimensions used for Omega for all the different card sizes, the backgrounds, and also the playmat. So you guys can also try and angle it. Now the nice thing about Omega is that so long as the image is generally bigger than the dimensions shown here, you don't need to worry about it too much, it'll automatically figure them out. Sometimes, however, like the Playmat I've done some testing of, if it's not bigger than it, then it may not even load in. So I'll show you guys the dimensions here and also convert it into centimeters. So if you guys are using PowerPoint like me, you can go over to the design tab, go into custom slide size, and this is where you can enter the sizes. Now unfortunately this was made so many years ago, so it's still using centimeters, but don't worry, I've converted it already, as you guys can see, into centimeters from pixels, so you guys get like a clear little comparison there. But even if you made it too big or too small, it should be resized and there shouldn't be any problems regardless. Next, I'm going to show you guys how to then make these lovely little borders. Now, the thing is, the difference between having a border and no border is, as you see when I showed you guys the original clip at the start there, you'll see we had that lovely little smooth transition effect where the sleeves all went down quite nice. And if you didn't have that, you'd be having the same image basically blurred and like almost stretched along the side of the card. So I found a border is one of the things you definitely want to have, and can actually be quite a dynamic way. You can be quite subtle, whereas here I've just basically gone across and found the same fill as the actual Yu-Gi-Oh card sizes themselves. So you can be custom like that, so just have a nice standard border. You can have it as just black or white or anything like that. Or for me personally, I thought to myself, I want to go as far as possible and see where I can take this. So all I've done here, in case you wanted to know, I went to Insert, Shapes, and found these little empty boxes here. You then just create your size, always remove the outline, and you can keep it on if you want to. If you get a little bit more artistically, you can try and change it up. Then you just change the size to fit over the cards wherever you want it. So once again, if you're using the same sort of dimensions, it becomes a lot easier. You just literally would move it over to where the dimensions are, over the top of the card, and voila. Nice and simple, and you just can leave it off there, but we obviously wanted to customize it a little bit further. So all we ended up deciding to do then is we ended up making this lovely rainbow one here. Now with this box is just simply something we found online. So if you can go online, type in some nice little gradients and color schemes, and once again you put it behind the image and you just make the image smaller than it. So that's what we did here. So this, for instance, is just an image over the top. What we want to do here, we want to make our own border. We want to try doing as much as we can ourselves to have those truly unique looking cards if we ever show them off to our opponents or friends like that. What I've gone and done then is I've once again gone over to Gradient, or Gradients, and you can see here what I've done basically is starting off at 3% either side of it, I've decided to basically do the colours of the rainbow. So each of these ones, is make it nice and even spread, is about 15% change from each of them. Go through them, it's roughly about 15% all the way through, just to try and make that even spread. Now if you don't like it, maybe you want a little bit more orange and green, you can of course adjust these ratios here, but it's just trying to make that lovely effect. So then if I use this as my sleeve, you get a fantastic little rainbow effect when you look at your deck from the side there, so making it nice and quirky. But I felt for my kind of a background, I wanted those nice sort of warm colours from the purples, the oranges and all that, so I ended up just going online and managing to find this lovely image, which I could just use as a background here. Now if you're wondering how do I get all the images to be together, because of course if I was just to right click save as picture, then you just get the image itself, you wouldn't get all these lovely borders. So all you got to do is nice and simple. So what I've actually done here, as I've gone a little bit further, I've got a regular Yu-Gi-Oh card and I've just changed the transparency in that, try and add another little effect. But again, you don't need to do that, so what I'll just do is for now I'll just ungroup. All I've got here, I've got two different cards and I'm going to go ahead and group them together. But what you want to do then is after you've grouped them together, you want to right click the image when it's all grouped together and then save as picture and then save it wherever for a temporary purpose. What I'll show you guys in a moment is where to put it in Omega to make sure it actually takes effect and applies it in the game. Finally then, the nice thing about the background is that you can have any, so again, once again, as long as it's bigger than that minimum size I showed you guys earlier, you should be fine here. So here we've got this lovely starry background. I saw this one online, I thought it just looked absolutely beautiful, and that's all my inspiration was. But what we want to do is we want to add something a little bit further. The nice feature that Omega has is that you can have different screens for when your life points are really high or if your life points are really low. So what you can do then is a nice simple feature. Once we go to picture format, we're going to go to color, and we're going to be like, so when we have higher life points, we're going to have that nice little lean to that blue. So we want to have that nice blue as if we're like winning. So just do a simple color shift. We could muck around with corrections, but I want to tamper this one as little as possible because it already looks so beautifully fantastic. So what you want to do, once again, once you've got your image, you just right click, save as picture, and it will then keep all these settings that you've done here. Once again though, if you want, maybe when we're losing life points, things aren't going the way we planned or whatever, we're going to maybe have a little bit more of a red shift. So once again, go into color tone, temperature shifting again, and once again we get this beautiful effect just to sort of change it up to, depending on whichever life points we have now 3 different versions. We have a normal version for both our loading screens and background or whatever, everything's fine. We have our high life points and low life points, so that we are having all these nice customized things. Now I'll go show you guys where to save them so you can then apply them in game. So once you load up Omega then, what you want to do is you want to go to settings, you want to then go to the customization option that's over here, and if you click that, what it will do, it will open up the customization tab, nice and simple there. So this is where you want to be putting in all the graphics that you've now saved and designed yourself. So for instance, let's go into backgrounds first, because backgrounds, this is where we're going to be putting through the same sort of thing. We're going to keep repeating it because we want to keep all our backgrounds in that exact same, depending when we're on the loading screen, when we're looking at our cards, or even when we're in settings right now, you can see behind us. So once we've got that image there, we're going to keep placing that all over in the loading place, lobby, we want to all have the same ones there, menu, sliding, and win. All the exact same here. But we can change it up a little bit if we wanted to here. So if in the win screen, I've added some little changes, graphics on there. You can add a little title and name. You can add some star effects on there just to sort of change the screen so when you see when it's winning or when you're losing it. Something else that what you want to do as well is you want to make sure that when you go into Duel, you can have a lot more options. Now, remember earlier we decided to make some customizations where we have a high for red and low for blue, whatever, depending on the difference in life points. Now, this is where you'll be doing it here. When you're losing, this is the 3 different views that Omega has. So the 3 different views relate to the views of the screen, whether you're looking top-down approach, whether you're looking quite close, or whether you're looking the stream view, which I quite often use myself, and I know a lot of other people enjoy. But just make sure for each of these, depending on whatever you want to use, they all have the same options in there. You go into modern, so we're going to have the losing ones, we'll have that red color in there, and we're going to place it in there for each one of them. The name, obviously, of course, doesn't matter. You can name it whatever you want. It's quite nice. Now, if you're wondering as well, when you're going through this process, once again, for winning, it's the exact same process, putting all the files in there. Well, if you're wondering, sometimes maybe this doesn't take effect, do make sure you set your background to static. If you set it to animated, that'll just be the regular Omega one. So I think that's a common issue I know a lot of people have had. So make sure when you're doing all this designing stuff, you set your background to static to make sure that you can actually see it and it's actually selected as the option. Once you've done that, don't forget to also go through and do your sleeves. So sleeves is nice and simple. You put it in the sleeves folder and you get the image that you've saved earlier and then just place it there. And once more, if you want to then change your playmat, you go to playmat options and put your playmat in there. It's nice and simple and it couldn't be easier for you guys as well. And if you ever want to change it, you just got to simply just remove the one that you've got currently in there and put a new one in there. Do make sure again that the sizes are at least meet the minimum of that threshold. And the other thing you want to watch out for is making sure that your card sleeves are a JPEG, so that's .jpeg. Your playmat is also a JPEG, but your backgrounds could be a JPEG or PNG. I personally prefer being PNGs because they're a little bit better quality, but honestly it doesn't matter between the two. But unfortunately it will only accept a JPEG for your card sleeves and your playmats. So do make sure you get the right file type. And when you're saving the image, it'll always give you the option on Microsoft PowerPoint, whether you want to save it as a PNG or a JPEG. But there it is. Nice and simple. It couldn't be any easier to make yourself some custom playmat, custom sleeves, and a custom background to use on Omega. When you're having fun, you can do it in style now. Hopefully you've enjoyed this really short, simple tutorial, just showing you guys how you can do some simple, cool stuff to make all the difference and add a little bit of unique flavoring to your experience. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Helloman saying goodbye world. Bye guys.